You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello and welcome to a very wonderful guest. Her name is Kanessa Muluneh. She is the force behind MULU, a multi-million-dollar plus-size lifestyle brand. She's a trailblazer from Ethiopia. Her achievements span industries from reshaping fashion to launching Europe's first female American football league. She's not just an entrepreneur. Kanessa empowers global communities through platforms like the Founder's Mentality and Inside an Entrepreneur's Mind. With an unyielding commitment to education, she's creating impact beyond business, fostering learning in underserved regions, and inspiring a new generation of entrepreneurs worldwide. And she also is a mother of three and has a newborn on her hands. Welcome, Kanessa.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's get stuck right into this. Kanessa and I have been chatting a bit. I would like for you to just tell the story of how you got to MULU, this plus size. How did that happen? Where did you start?
So my entrepreneurial journey started actually quite early. I'm the first generation immigrant child in Europe. I grew up I was born in Ethiopia. I grew up in the Netherlands, had an amazing childhood. At least, looking back, I think the positive sides are really, they take over from the negative. And my parents always had a dream and they wanted me to become successful because they literally gave up their lives simply for, my happiness. So I was determined to become happy. Their happiness, though, was me becoming a doctor. That was their vision. And I think back then I was a teenager. I didn't know what I wanted in life. I said, I can make them happy as long as I don't know what I want to do with my life. So I went to medical school. Super cool, super nice. I had an amazing time, but it wasn't just, I don't know what to say. It was not for me. I love the work. And I truly think it's like the best work ever, but it's just not for me. The love was not in me. So during my internship in one of the hospitals or clinics that I worked, I noticed that, okay, there's a lot to improve. And this is 12 years ago. There was a lot to improve. And, I like to call myself a problem solver because I spot problems and I just like to solve it. That's just my thing. I noticed that, there were a lot of women working there and it was always women suffering, balancing their home and life work. Well, everything actually. It was not just work and life, but they were suffering. And I saw them suffer mentally because of that. And I said, the solution is quite simple. Maybe we can make a tool that would allow you to at least start your work in the morning during the startup phase. You can just start it at home and maybe come to office later or just finish your work at home. And this sounds so simple because after COVID, it became the norm, but it wasn't that, and it's still not normal in the healthcare section. And back then I sounded crazy. They were like, okay, but we're working with, very private documents here, patients, information, etc. And I was like, okay, but I can at least try. I was 20. I had no idea what I was doing. I can try. I can talk to some people. Before I knew it, it turned into a company and it was actually working. It was a full functioning product. And an insurance company actually bought my idea, basically to kill it. They saw it as a threat, obviously, but it's okay. It was the first time. I was so young. I was 21. I had money and I had no idea what to do with that money. And
that is incredible.
It is. It really is. And I felt...
That's a question.
Yeah.
How much did they pay you?
It was above $1 million.
Wait, you got paid $1 million to be shut up because they did. That is unbelievable. So you created a product and got paid out for $1 million. That's unbelievable. Okay, and then what did you do with the $1 million?
I had to pay tax on that $1 million, so it was not like I had a full $1 million, but still. I bought a Porsche. The most stupid thing ever. I bought a Porsche because I thought, I can just, buy a house, buy a Porsche. I can live the high end lifestyle. And my
Mm-hmm.
dad, he's very smart with money. He looked at,
Mm-hmm.
he said, okay, give me half of the money and you can spend the rest of it. And he just, I think with pain in his heart, looked and watched how I burned that money. And he was like, looking back, later on, he came to me and he was like, "Yeah, you cannot afford that Porsche, right?" No, I was like, "No, it's so expensive. I never thought it would cost me so much in petrol and insurance." So I had to sell it. But it was the best mistake I ever made. I think it
I
cooled
mean,
me
what
down.
a luxury. What a
Yes,
luxury at 21 to be given a
yes,
million and have half a million to burn. So what? You had fun and you're doing well now. So I think that's an incredible story in and of itself. Okay, so then from there, you were telling me you then started building a string of companies, right?
yes, yes. I discovered my potential basically. I discovered my talent, and it was really finding a problem, solving, finding a solution and solving it. And that spiraled into QFL, Queens Football League. It was the first American
Mm-hmm.
football league in the Netherlands for women because simply I wanted to play American football and they didn't have female teams. And I just contacted the head coach of the male teams because we had male teams, so unfair. And I said, I want to play. What are my options? And he was like, yeah, you can play with the boys or you can go to the US and play there. And I was like, well, those are not options. It
Yes.
doesn't work. So eventually,
Mm-hmm.
I said, if this video that triggered me, I saw a video on the internet. If that triggered me, I'm sure it will trigger other women as well. So I posted on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
asked women like, who wants to join me in this journey? And I got like hundreds of messages from women all over the country. And Netherlands, the country is not that big, so I managed that year to establish a team in Amsterdam and in Rotterdam, the two biggest cities in the country. We played a game, and I thought it would end there because it was a bucket list thing, and I scratched it off my bucket list, and it was done. But nope,
Mm-hmm.
the ladies were like, "That's not fair. We are warmed up now. We want to continue." And eventually, I managed to set up 7 or 8 teams in
17.
Netherlands own.
Wow.
Yes, and in eventually we also went to Belgium, but then
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened, so we wanted to go international, expand internationally. But we also played internationally because there were female teams in Finland, in Italy, etc., etc. And we even were ready to come to the US, but then COVID happened, unfortunately.
Is this association still running now that you're no longer with it?
Well, no, I'm not involved because I moved to Dubai, and
Sure.
during COVID, it was just I lost my
Ah,
mojo basically. Again, it was just a bucket list thing. It was already
yeah.
off that
Wow.
list.
Fascinates me about you. While I'm listening to all these stories, what fascinates me about you is you have a mindset where you just say, I want to do this, and you do it. Now, that's an
Yes.
incredible mindset. Where do you think that came from?
I actually had a conversation with my husband. My husband is Dutch, for your reference. He grew up in the perfect family. They had no problems, let's say, just the everyday
Yes.
problems. But me as
Yes.
an immigrant, I could not understand what life is like. The luxury was not something I was familiar with. So he said,
Uh-huh.
he asked me the same question, and I asked the same back, what is your motivation? And he's like, well, actually everything in my life, it came easy, and I never had to work for it. Basically, I thought of it and it happened simply because I had the privilege. And his motivation, he basically told me that he doesn't have he really has to motivate himself to do something. He always has to spark that fire inside of him to even get up and do something. And even if he does, he literally has to work on it for, like, let's say half a day, and he gets it done and everybody applauds for him. Me, on the other hand, I had to work for everything. I had to prove myself. I had to, my parents didn't speak the language very well, so I had to find out. I had to navigate through a new world. While at home, we were still Ethiopian. I was raised Ethiopian, and my parents, they never adapted to the Dutch culture. So for me, it
Mm,
was always a battle, and I got
mm,
used to that battle. If that makes sense, I got used to being my own motivation and be like, okay, every time I step outside this door, I'm on my own because my parents couldn't save me
mm.
because they didn't speak the language. So
Wow.
there's always that fire in me that was like,
Right.
okay, let's do this. Let's get through the day. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense because you had these hurdles and obstacles. Your mindset was just problem solving nonstop. Problem solving when I step outside the house, problem solving that there's always going to be something I have to solve as a problem. So it sounds
Yes.
to me like that's why you found problems and I'm like just going to keep solving. So when did your parents move from Ethiopia and how did that happen?
My parents fled. Well, first my dad fled out of the country because new there was a new. So Ethiopia was we had an emperor. It was
Mm-hmm.
led by an emperor, but then the
Royalty.
kingdom
Yeah.
fell, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden we were a democratic country, and that's when the trouble, political trouble started.
Was this around 1990?
Yes, yes,
Yes, because I
exactly.
was in Kenya. I was in Kenya at that time, and I actually went to an Ethiopian refugee camp to give them food because they didn't have anything to eat, and it was in 1990.
Yes, that's when
Wow.
the government entered the country. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
my
you
dad
got
was
out and
for,
got to the Netherlands.
yes, my dad went
Mhm.
first, and then my mom and I followed. And it was not necessarily their choice, but it was forced.
Mm.
They did their best. I applaud them for it because I don't know if I would be able to go through that and keep a sane mind.
Right. So what do your parents do? What was your dad when he went to um, the Netherlands? What was he doing for his employment?
He was my dad is a farmer. He's a farm boy. He grew up at the farm.
Oh wow.
And when I say farm, I don't mean the farm kind that we know. He's a coffee farmer
Ah,
basically. He knows
uh-huh.
everything about agriculture, everything, and also everything about animals. And that's where his love is, where his heart is. Everything at the
Mm.
farm. He's just a farmer's boy, and but just like the same story, like I was just telling, like you have to go to school and you have to become this doctor or
Mm.
engineer or whatever. He went to university as well and studied economics, and that's where
Ah.
his money mindset comes from. But deep inside, I think he just likes to go back to the farm if he could.
Okay, so you're from an educated Ethiopian family, which is not everybody in Ethiopia doesn't go to university, obviously, right?
No,
I'm
no,
guessing the majority don't, right?
no.
Okay, so and then he got wow, so he went to Netherlands and he got what kind of a job did he end up doing? Probably not on a farm, right?
Okay, no, it was not at a farm. It was at even worse. He worked at the tax department. He worked for government, and he
Got it.
claimed taxes from people. I don't.
Hmm.
It's so hard to say it because I literally am against whatever he was doing. But it's just he worked at the tax department for the government.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, he got a job with the government, and that's, no small feat for somebody coming from Ethiopia, I'm guessing, right?
No, no, definitely not. I'm proud of him, by the way, for
Yeah. So
being
that was your upbringing. You were brought up in an Ethiopian culture in the home, but then outdoors was the other culture. So literally, it's two cultures. And you navigated all that very successfully. You started your first idea at 20, and an insurance company paid you $1 million so you could drive around in a Porsche. And then you started other companies. You started the American football, and now you have MULU,
yes.
which you were telling me in your it's after your name Muluneh, but in your language that means full.
Yes, Mulu means full. It translates to full.
Okay, and what a great name for the plus size, full size.
Yeah,
Now, you are not a plus size yourself, correct?
not anymore. I used to be.
No. Ah, so what inspired you to start Mulu?
My own struggles. There we have it again. I was struggling to find clothes, proper sportswear back then. That's where I started with just sportswear. And I was actually a power lifter. I went to the gym 5 times a week and I was just struggling to find proper gym wear. And back then they only made I think every legging was available up to size extra large, and in
Mm-hmm.
Europe at least. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I got pregnant, I was gaining weight. I told my husband, that's it, I don't have any gym wear anymore, and I'm not going in your trousers. So
Mm-hmm.
during maternity leave, I might as well start designing or coming up with any solutions here.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
started making my own clothes and started wearing them to the gym after my delivery, and people started to notice, and that's how the business came to life.
Okay, that's incredible. So you weren't really plus size. You were plus size because you were pregnant, right?
Well, I already wore size extra large, so that
Ah,
was
okay.
that was the biggest size back then. So for European standards,
Mm-hmm.
no, I wasn't. Well, actually, let's say for American standards, I wasn't plus size. But I, after the
Right.
pregnancy, I gained weight, so my
Mm-hmm.
size was two extra.
Okay, it is interesting. I lived in Europe for 8 years, and it is interesting that the sizes don't even go as high, which is maybe a good thing because then the women can't get too overweight, right? Like not, enormously
Yeah,
overweight,
yeah.
right?
So the
Okay,
first time I started with MULU, I only went up to 3X because simply in
okay.
Europe we didn't have women that were
You wouldn't
that
have a
big.
market.
It wasn't a
Yeah.
market. But then Americans noticed my brand, and they were like, "You only go up to 3X and you call yourself plus size?" And I was like, "What?" And yeah, then I did some research, and then I understood what they were saying.
That was not plus size. That was middle size for
Yes,
American. This is
yes.
quite hilarious, actually, to hear the whole cultural, like, oh, then I realized that wasn't American plus size. Okay. So literally, you created another solution to your problem. Go to the gym. You are like, have a golden touch. So, and then these people noticed your clothes, and then you started selling them to the people like that were ordering them from the gym, or you said, hey, I'm getting a website up. Here's my website. Go order them.
Yeah, so that's basically how it went. So first I just handed them, I had some samples. So I said, you can get a sample. It was the exact same legging. And then there was nothing left, and they were still coming back asking for more. And I was like, okay, I might as well start designing again and make a new batch, new designs. And that's when I started my website, web shop, and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so now you were telling me all of your companies all together have made $50 million
Hmm.
so far.
So far.
And your husband, who is your accountant, keeps you on track for the next goal. Like, honey, we got to
Yes.
make this one. Yes.
Yes.
So
Very
just,
annoying.
you just, annoying but necessary. So
Yes.
now I found out you're also a power lifter. There no end to your talents? Do you play a musical instrument?
No, no, I don't. I
Oh,
wish I could, but
okay.
I
I
always wanted
found
to play
something that
piano.
you can't do. You know what? I want to get back to piano. That's on my bucket list to get back to piano. I started practicing again the other day. All right. So why don't you just tell us the names and the types of companies that are under your umbrella right now?
Right now, it's just Mulu. And
Ah.
I said goodbye to the rest simply because I'm a mom of three now. And
Hmm.
the other thing that keeps me busy is, well, Mulu does keep me busy because now it's not just selling clothes; it's also wholesale. We do white labeling. I help other
Ah.
people establish their own brands, and we deliver. We created. We have our own factory now, so we
Oh.
reach that level not by just selling, our inventory, our
Yes.
own designs, but actually helping others establish their own fashion brands.
Their
And
own
this,
right. There's a
yeah,
lot of activewear brands that do that. So, for instance, a person could say, "I want to do an activewear brand." You will produce it and put their label on it and deliver it when people.
yes, yes,
That's
that's
a
white
very good
labeling.
model,
Yes, yes.
right?
And
Now,
but you
where
can also just give me a design, and I can recreate it
you
for
can
you.
produce it.
Yeah,
Wow, it's interesting. You know, I actually started my life as a fashion designer. That's what I studied. So
really.
it's so interesting. Yes, yes, years ago. Okay, so now where's the factory? I'm just curious where all this is produced.
In Pakistan.
Yeah, okay, you're an incredible person. I'm guessing there's so many other things on your bucket list. Watch out, bucket list. Okay, so you've got Mulu, you have three children, you're in Dubai, your husband
Yes.
helps you, you've been through a lot. So what's the next step for Kanessa?
The next step, I think by now, I really enjoy being a mom. And by now, I really want to, I think that for me, it's about helping. and I don't want to use the word help necessarily, but making sure that people around me become as successful, because life is just so much better. The quality of life is better if you are just, if you can upgrade yourself and just live a certain lifestyle and be proud of yourself. And I think for a long time I was like, oh, now everybody has to take care of their own happiness and success.
Mm,
But I am, looking back, I was also just lucky that I met my husband, who is amazing when it comes to business. And
mm,
he's an
mhm,
accountant. My dad, I had people around me help me. My
mm.
first company was funded by my dad.
Ah,
It was a loan that I still haven't paid back, by the way, now that I mention it. But
oh,
it's
I think you
just,
can afford to pay it back now.
yeah, no. Well, I tried paying back, but he was like, "No, no, you can do that later." So I think he feels like he
Mm,
is still a part of my success
very good.
that way.
Mm,
But so I had help. So why would I deny other people that help,
right.
especially in Africa? Where I come from. I feel like as a
Yeah.
diaspora, I had so much luck in life that it wouldn't
Mm,
be ethical to just keep it to myself. Why would I? I can now give
right.
back to my own country or to my own continent and see other people
Yes.
succeed, and I really believe in them.
Right. And I'm glad you came to that because I think exactly the same way. So now, and in a minute, we'll share your Instagram because you were telling me you give business tips on Instagram. So watch out, world. I think that we have another business mentor and coach about to be born. Okay. So tell me, what is some strategy or mindset tip or mindset hack or something that you can share with people right now that are listening to this show?
The most important one is that you have to recognize the emotion fear. You have no idea how many times a day we feel that emotion. It comes in all kinds of emotion, like insecurities or whatever is holding you back from your goal. That is actually the emotion fear holding you back, or whether it's doubt or whatever it is. So know that, or acknowledge that it's just an emotion. You don't have to
Mm,
listen to it, and you have to
mhm,
break through that sometimes. And whenever you're
mhm,
ready, just blaming yourself later on for missing an opportunity is way worse than failing and recovering from that. So don't listen to fear, and also don't listen to other people's opinions. Know that it's just an opinion. People can have an opinion, they're allowed to have an opinion, but you have the choice, always have the option to not do anything with it. Just listen and say okay and move on.
two bits of good advice. One is, and I agree with you, fear. You're absolutely correct. I do I do this thing all day where I audit my thoughts. Like, okay, was that fearful? Was that? And fear is also anxiety, procrastination, blame, shame, guilt, all of that,
Yes,
frustration, anger, all is coming from fear. So that's
yes,
your opinion.
yes,
So what you're saying is to not succumb to fear and to recognize that for what it is and go for what you want anyway and don't let it stop you. Yeah?
yes, yes,
That's it.
100%.
And the other thing is don't listen to every single person that you hear as far as the advice. You can listen to it and you can filter it and decide what you want to do. Right?
Yeah, it's just, don't put any energy in convincing them not to have an opinion about you, because they're going
Right.
to have it. Whether,
Yes.
I'd rather have someone say it to me than, you never know what goes inside people's minds. So if
Yes.
they're feeling free to share it, share it with me. But
Hmm.
as soon as I turn and walk away, I release
Hmm.
it and just let it go. It stays with that person. So
Right.
I know it sounds very, I don't know, crazy maybe, but it is that's all you have to do in order to move on without any person's involvement or any person's, I like to say,
That,
venom in some way.
yes.
You just let it where it belongs at.
That is not crazy at all. That is sound advice. That's called it mastering your emotions. So basically, you're not going to argue, let them have their opinion because they're free. Then you can just let it go as you're walking away and leave it where it is if you know that it wasn't well meaning, right?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's well put. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because sometimes there is well meaning, concerned advice. All right. Well, Kanessa, this has been an absolute pleasure. Now, if you're interested in checking out MULU's designs, we will have the website in the show notes, and also we will have we do have Kanessa's Instagram link, so you can check out what she's riffing over there on all sorts of business stuff. So Kanessa, this has been a complete pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you when I'm in Dubai. Take care, everybody, and thank you.
Same. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Wealth Impact. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and life-changing. If you want to support the show and stay up to date with all of our latest episodes, the easiest way to do that is by following us on your favorite podcast platform. Just hit that follow button to never miss an episode. And if you really love the show and want to help us spread the word, leave us a review and share the podcast with your friends. Again, be sure to subscribe, and until next time, be impactful.